I'm your host, as always, Peggy Unsaltz, mobile analyst, tech consultant, senior Forbes writer, and founder of Mobile Groove. Again today, bringing you the Reimagined Growth mini-series on retention marketing, powered by CleverTap. CleverTap, headquartered in Mountain View, California, with offices in Mumbai, Singapore, and Dubai, is a modern integrated retention cloud that empowers digital consumer brands to increase customer retention and lifetime value. So every 2 weeks, we bring you these stories. We bring you these tips and advice from marketers at major consumer brands who trust CleverTap to achieve their retention and engagement goals. So we talk about apps as being a source of information. They help you shop, they help you make payments, help you stay fit. They also help you manage your lives. And we're going to look at that because this app today looks at a way to help us improve the quality of life, but also it's doing an amazing job, so much so that it is 2x that of any other name in the top 10 health and fitness app category. So what do they solve? Well, as many as 40% of people age 65 and older fall each year. But an app named Nymbl Science has taken on the challenge of training the elderly, and not just the elderly, everyone who has problems with balance, to use a mobile app to teach simple functional movements like side lunges and keep them entertained with cognitive challenges. So it's a great mix, and also by partnering with communities, they have built trust among their audience. I told you about 2x of the retention rate of any app in their category, but their engagement rates are also 10x the previous national prevention efforts. So it's very successful, but how are they being successful navigating customer retention and engagement in such a niche market? Well, today my guest is Nymbl Science's Director of Marketing, Laura Schroeder, who can shed some light on the science behind the apps and the success they've achieved. She has herself more than 10 years of experience in the marketing space, well known for her ability to design effective multi-channel outreach programs that improve customer trust and value and drive company growth. And certainly Nymbl Science is an example of that. So, Lo, welcome. Great to have you.
Thank you, Peggy. So happy to be here.
Really impressive track record, some amazing milestones. And so at Nymbl Science, you're leading Colorado's most effective fall prevention campaign and engagement program, as we said, 10 times the previous national campaigns. Tell me a little bit about that. How are you using your app to achieve these milestones and also to exercise our brain?
Yeah, that's right. So Nymbl is an evidence-based fall prevention app that's completely curated for older adults because as we age, our balance declines. And what Nymbl does is Nymbl uses our evidence-based patented dual tasking program, and we combine brain challenges and body challenges together to help you regain your balance and reconnect brain and body. So we help older adults improve their mobility, improve their quality of life, and we're really focused on that mission. Older adults are the cornerstone of what we do, and it's really important for us to meet the need of all of older adults. Right now, or before Nymbl, let me say that, balance training and really strength training was only in person. You had to go to an in-person class. Participation was like 1 in 800 older adults. And it took several sessions, right, like hours long and sometimes years to even see any kind of progress. But Nymbl, in only 10 minutes a day on our amazing app, allows older adults to regain their independence, expand their mobility, live a larger, more meaningful life in only 10 minutes a day. So we're making a lot of amazing moves, as you mentioned, Peggy. Thank you for that really nice intro. When we think about what we've done on kind of like this national level, it's been really amazing. We've partnered with Dr. Cog here locally in Denver, and we've impacted more than 15,000 older adults, so 10xing, more than 10xing previous fall prevention efforts. So before we rolled out this program, the nation really got together and they said, okay, let's see what we can do for older adults. And they enrolled less than 1,000 in several months. And what we've only done in 8 counties, not even an entire state, has more than 10x that. And that really is such an amazing tribute, not only to the need for Nymbl right now, before COVID, especially after COVID, but also our engagement, as you mentioned. The way that we engage with older adults is incredibly meaningful, and it's really intentional the way that we engage with them from the beginning, through retention.
I really like your app also on a personal level, though, because since we've spoken, I mean, I mentioned, and we'll get to that in a moment, I've had a dizzy spell, maybe a different reason, but it makes you sensitive to this, right? And it's also about improving life for the elderly. I've recently also heard from a relative of mine that she did have a very bad fall. It was also because of this, the dizzy spells make sense, but there are other segments, as I said, millennials can have dizzy spells. There are others. So how do you define your audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we age, our balance really starts to decline. We really focus on older adults for that exact reason, right? So older adults, when our balance starts to decline and it starts to become an executive function, we think, okay, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. But life is full of distractions. And so what that means is when an older adult is focusing on walking and someone says, hey, Jane, and then they lose that thought process and they become distracted, that's really when falls happen, right? Oh, my dog was under my feet. I was, looking or thinking about something else. And so Nymbl really allows us to retrain and, like I mentioned, reconnect our brain and body. So for that reason, the main markets that we're in are really, Medicare Advantage organizations and any other organizations who really care about improving the quality of life of older adults at a population level, and those who really carry risk, right? Like the cost of falls. So the reason why we do that is because we don't want an older adult to ever pay for Nymbl. We believe that evidence-based fall prevention should be free, widely available and accessible to everyone, and we believe that cost is a barrier. And so we partner with organizations like these, like Medicare Advantage, like DRCOG, right, at a state level, so that we can impact as many older adults as possible and really make sure that we're having a meaningful interaction with them that has as little barriers as possible.
I love also that you're partnering with so many to make that free, to make that accessible. Tell me just a little bit before we get to the marketing behind it. Let's talk about the science behind it. Your app pairs exercise with brain puzzles. That sounds really cool. What's the science behind that?
So as we age, our reflexive balance really starts to decline, meaning that balance becomes an executive function. And this is really the act of, juggling several tasks at one time. So when older adults are thinking about how they're walking, they become distracted. And so your reflex can be trained, particularly your balance reflex. And that's what a lot of people don't know. We can reconnect, we can retrain our balance. And so that's what Nymbl does. So in only 10 minutes a day, we're doing trivia, right? We're talking about US entertainment and we're doing math problems and we're combining them with easy physical movements such as lifting your foot, right? As if we're lifting it over a rug. We're combining those things together to help strengthen our balance and really that mind and body connection. We think it's important that this is not a lot of exertion. This is not strength training. This is balance training. And so you do this in your jeans. You're not putting on yoga pants to do this. You're doing this 10 minutes before you go to work, 10 minutes before you go out to garden or whatever it is that you're doing. Our focus is to improve quality of life. We want you to go to your granddaughter's wedding. We want you to dance again with your wife and do those really meaningful things. So we want it to be as easy as possible. And again, removing those barriers is so incredibly important to our engagement and retention.
We're going to get to those amazing numbers, but I want to understand first the kinds of campaigns and channels that you're finding work best, because at the heart of this, it's also about what channels work best to engage, for example, people over 65. Are there any surprises there? Is it maybe they're more digital savvy than we thought?
So they are. First and foremost,
The silver surfers, as they used to call them, yes.
Yeah, they are constantly surprising me. And it's important that we don't even think of them anymore as not being tech enabled, right? We know that like 90% of older adults, 50 plus, have a smart device, a smartphone or a tablet in their home. They know what to do, they know how to download apps, and they're more tech savvy than we think. Sometimes we like to think, oh, well, my grandmother, she might not know how to do this, but the overwhelming majority of older adults know exactly what to do. And so that's a barrier that we're overcoming with, many people, because we're saying, no, they know exactly what to do. They're more tech enabled than we think. And 90% of older adults say it's important to have balance training available in their home, which is exactly what Nymbl is, right? You shouldn't have to go somewhere to get evidence-based fall prevention. So they're always surprising me, not only with their tech enablement, but with the kind of channels and marketing that they interact with. So what we've learned and what's been the most surprising as well as incredibly helpful to our amazing engagement is that they still lean on traditional media, right? Like TV, broadcast, as well as newspaper and print, but it's really to build trust and really have that trust at the beginning, right? We know that older adults are unfortunately scammed or the victim of scams many times. So it's important to first validate with as much trust as you can, and then we always lead with those digital channels. What we've seen with our analytics is that email is our greatest predictor of engagement and enrollment in our program, and it's 1/3 of the cost, which means low CPAs, which is what we all want. We all want the lowest CPA we can get. So while we lean on a lot of that traditional media, we are heavily involved in digital marketing, SMS, email, Facebook ads, Google ads for retargeting. We're hitting all of those channels, all that multi-channel engagement. That's what's really allowed us to be so successful.
We've been talking about your app and your achievements, but I have to say, just to get back to the straight numbers, retention rates that are really, really impressive, twice those of the top 10 apps in health and fitness. What do you think has allowed you to reach that?
Thank you. I'm most proud of our retention. Again, 2x retention. It's about 20 to 30% retention when we look at it 3 months out. Compared to other health and fitness apps, they're between 5 and 10%. So we're really proud of our retention numbers. I'd really probably attribute that to 3 primary things. And really, CleverTap has allowed us to do that. We've worked with a lot of different platforms in the past. Now that we're growing so rapidly and we're impacting so many older adults, it's important that we have a program that allows us to do all of this. And so the first would probably be our cognitive behavioral training techniques that we do. So it's important that when we think about engagement, that we're addressing barriers. When we think of engagement, we need to make sure that we're removing barriers so that we can have those high retention rates, can have a lot of that engagement. And so we do that through our educational program that has CBT infused messaging that allows us to empower older adults. We're talking about the things that you can do, not the things that you can't do. Because when older adults go to the doctor, they're told this: you're at high fall risk, remove your throw rugs, lead a smaller life. And we don't believe in that. And so when we think about our educational program and how we engage and how we enroll older adults in our program, we lead with empowerment, we lead with trust, and you can also enroll in Nymbl. So that's incredibly important first. The next is personalization. It's incredibly important that we're utilizing dynamic content, that when you engage in something, we recognize you engage with it, and that we then curate the next few steps of your program given that you just took that action. We are looking at every action you took along the entire user journey, and we are perfectly moving you along where you need to be. If you're not engaging here, then are you going to engage here? And if not here, then how can we then loop you in here? So it's incredibly important that we're looking at your actions and we're personalizing given you and your persona. We know that there's so many different personas out there. We want to make sure that every user journey is curated to you and what is your motivator, what is your why. And then the next is testing. You have to test. A lot of my career, especially when I was marketing to millennials, I was like, okay, I have a hunch that it's this thing. And it's never a hunch. It's never right. And you should always be testing. You should always be listening to your customers because they know. In the past, 6 months, I've been flabbergasted by the things that we've learned from our customers. We've done design tests, different variants, and they've always picked the thing I thought they weren't going to pick, or I'm like, please don't. And they did, right? And so it's important not to just change things for the sake of change or change things for the sake of aesthetics, but to listen to your customers, to be testing along the way, and when you're testing, to move and reiterate rapidly, right? It's all about speed of innovation. So after you're testing, move rapidly, move on to the next thing. So those are the three primary things that I would attribute to our retention. It's 2 to 6x. We're really, really proud of it. And I think we're just scratching the surface, honestly. We're proud of that, but we want more.
I love what you're saying about the testing, because A/B testing is very important, but it's also very surprising. You are making a bet. Most times you're saying, oh, it's going to be the extremely well-produced creative that's going to engage my users. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's something very different, or it's going to be something very dull, like just an educational nudge or message in a little bit of an interesting font. Tell me a little bit more about how you're doing the A/B testing and how you're directing that testing to make certain that what you're doing at the end of the day is always, again, as you said yourself, personalizing the app, curating the experience. That has to come through, and you need to A/B test for it. How do you approach that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of fantastic programs out there that will allow you to do a lot of this user research. We use CleverTap to do a lot of our A/B testing. We have one launched right now, of course. Like every week we're launching a different test, as you should, and I highly recommend. And it allows us to look at that 50-50 split, right? So we've got some language here that maybe creates more urgency, creates more of a quick action to take, and the next, which is a little more positive, a little bit more about empowerment, and you can do it. And so we'll be looking at that data in the next few days to see what performed well. But you're right, Peggy, we recently did a design test. We had 3 different variants. The first 2 were incredibly beautifully, aesthetically, a lot of design, really beautiful, and then the others were less aesthetically pleasing. And they picked that one because they said this. They said, my health is important. It's not a joke. I take it seriously. This is a very important thing to me. And I don't want illustrations. I don't want you to make, all these great illustrations that we're seeing nowadays. We started creating a few of them and testing them. They're like, I don't want this. This is for me. This is my health. This is serious. And so that was a very valuable learning. And now that's completely trickled into every aspect of our look and feel. We're expanding our product right now. We're moving now into desktop because we want to be widely available to even more people. And we're bringing all of those learnings over because you have to.
That's fascinating also, because again, the multi-channel, the omni-channel, how's that going to work? That's where many marketers tell me it's a little bit of a break, because they don't have that comfortable handoff to know you were doing this here and it needs to continue there. Because as you said yourself, your customers, they are thinking, and you've also personalized the journey that, if you've done these steps, these other steps need to come. And now you need to see that journey over these platforms. How's that going to work out for you? What are you anticipating, or how are you preparing for that to make that, seamless?
Well, CleverTap allows us to bring all those things in. So we have the entire SMS journey, email journey, Facebook, Google, everything is all in one. Really, the only one that isn't in there is print, but we manage that really well. We have a phenomenal print house that we work through, but we have a master journey. We have a master journey that says, okay, this is the maximum amount of touch points that one of our members is going to receive. Are we comfortable with this? Okay, let's move to the next thing. And so we have this master sheet that we look at consistently, and we lean into all of our learnings. We know that our older adults want to be reminded, okay, what's the right amount of reminders that you want to be reminded to do your training? And so we're learning that sweet spot. Sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's not. And so it also ties to creating those different personas of people and creating those journeys tied to those personas. We have some that are incredibly tech savvy and some that, you know what? I just want to noodle on this a little bit. I just want to think more. Just send me a little bit more information. And so we do that. And so we're able to look at those journeys from a high level, multi-touch point, which is incredibly important. I can't tell you, how many times I've seen other organizations say, well, we'll just send out these 2 things. I'm like, good luck. That is not going to work. It's all about multi-channel, meeting them where they are. We're all busy. And it takes 7 times, seven different ways to really have that meaningful connection, have that meaningful interaction.
I have to say, Lo, I am nearly speechless, which is hard to do with me, because you take such a methodical approach to this. There are many, many marketers. I speak with many, many marketers who don't think about it and see it the way you do, who see it as a journey, who understand that there are different touch points and that there are certain ways to approach it, and really taking also the feedback of the user, seeing that, understanding that, and bringing that back into the journey, integrating that back in, because that's what it's about. That's what's going to create that bond with your brand. So, I mean, if you're not out there yet, blogging and talking and telling the world about your blueprint, I have an idea for you that a lot of people would love to hear this. Absolutely. Do you think about that yourself? Do you say to yourself, I have just created a blueprint for engagement and retention and long-term relationship building? Because it's certainly where everyone else struggles.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, I so appreciate that. I can't tell you just made my entire day on this, Friday morning, so thank you. But right now, there is no blueprint for older adults. And so what we're doing is important. And so not only are we testing and reiterating constantly and prioritizing learnings, I think it's easy to be really afraid of failure. That's something I personally struggle with. But learning is a win, and it's always better than failure. And if you learn something at the other end, you take that learning, you run with it, that's a win. Don't even look at that as a failure. It's incredibly important. And so right now, we are creating the blueprint for older adult engagement. There is nothing out there that says how to engage with older adults, and we are all older adults in training. So this is important what we're doing. And so not only are we doing all this testing and making sure that we are innovating quickly, but we are also documenting it. So I do have a document, and we have several reports and case studies that we're creating, and I just need to move, get to that.
I'll tell you what, Lo, when you have that, even if it's long after this show's gone live, do share that. I'll share that in the show notes, because that document is going to be gold. And I, as a journalist, I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to jump on it. I have to let you know that. So time has flown by. I hate to end. I do like, however, to end with a golden rule of engagement, particularly in your case. Let's talk about the golden rule of engagement with over 65.
Okay. I think the first is, okay, I'm going to say two. So I'm going to say two golden rules of engagement. The first is leading with trust. Okay, trust is incredibly important. It's incredibly important that when you're leading with your engagement, that you're providing value. That's how you gain trust. Here's a thing I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to give you for free because I care about you and because it's valuable. And here's the CTA. Let's always lead with trust. Let's never lead with the CTA. Let's build that trust, be patient, and the CTA, the enrollments, the acquisition, it will always, always, always follow, because we're all real people, and that's who we're trying to engage with. So leading with trust, leading with value. And the next is speed of innovation. Test, test, test everything. I know it takes time to test. I know we'd rather sometimes move quick and just build something and launch it, but it's so important to slow down. It's important to test. It's important to make sure you're getting it right, and then you build, and then you test again, and then you build. So speed of innovation, learn, adapt, and then launch. Your results will be much better, much higher, and you'll feel more confident with what you've put out there when you know that it's exactly what your customers want, because that's who matters, your customers.
That is amazing. Lo, you're going to be one I'm going to bring back again another quarter. I have to hear how this is going. I have to see that blueprint. You have to share that. Thanks so much for sharing, though, for today.
Thank you, Peggy. I appreciate you.
And of course, Lo has shared her journey, and we'll do it again. We'll have you back. And to help marketers and organizations drive customer connection and results for their business, CleverTap has curated the latest presentations from the CleverTap Quarterly for you on YouTube, and is gearing up for another flagship event, offering insights around the state of the industry, latest platform innovations, as well as, importantly, the best practices from the best marketers. So learn from the best. As I said, it's all over at CleverTap. And if you want to keep up with me throughout the week, find out more about how you can be a guest, then you can email me, Peggy at mobilegroove.com is where you'll also find my portfolio of app marketing services. You can, of course, find our shows on Amazon, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And don't forget video, of course, powered by The Groove, on YouTube. So until next time, remember, every minute is mobile, so make every minute count. Keep well, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.